Hey everybody, Josh Sigurdson of World Alternative Media here, and we have crazy news from France. As this France 24 article says, Macron orders France back into COVID-19 lockdown amid surge in cases. We have, of course, been warning about this since March. We were told we were crazy for saying that there would be a lockdown in the first place, and then at the time saying that there would be a second lockdown after they opened things up, and they'd blame it on the selfish people, as in people who want to feed their families. This news is absolutely infuriating. You probably saw our video recently up on BitChute talking about the second lockdown and how it's going to be unrolled, and basically we posted that video, and within hours of posting that video, this news comes out of France at the perfect timing, by the way. Very convenient considering the riots happening. As it says here, French President Emmanuel Macron has announced a new nationwide lockdown from Friday to stem a surge in coronavirus patients in French hospitals, warning that the second wave of the virus is likely to be deadlier than the first. And I quote, "We have been overwhelmed by the rapid acceleration of COVID-19, Macron announced on Wednesday in a primetime television address, stressing that all French regions are now in high alert. The French president said a nationwide lockdown would be enforced initially until December 1st, though schools and creches will remain open." Wait, so that makes total sense. Of course, the government indoctrination camps have to stay open this time, but everything else must stay closed. You can't, run your restaurant. You can't make money off of your tips. You can't, run a bar. You can't walk outside unless you're getting groceries or going to the hospital for whatever reason. I mean, this is a level of tyranny that we have not seen really in this world since Stalinist Russia and obviously Maoist China. And seriously, guys, the fact that this is being tolerated at any extent is insane. And this is right at the same time as we see people rise up in the streets in France and Italy and Germany and multiple places. But really, the eyes are on France right now with the clashes. And the clashes aren't over the lockdowns in France. In fact, most of the clashes are regarding the divisive rhetoric that's being pushed forward by both sides, by the media, in order to clash people together at the perfect time, so they're distracted from the fact that the government is absolutely destroying their very humanity, any basic freedoms they might have, and it's offloading all the anger onto each other, infighting to distract people from the real enemy, the government. And at the same time as we have this, we have these idiots like Merkel. Here it says from this RT article, "Freedom is taking responsibility. Merkel defends new COVID-19 lockdown in Russia's Bundestag." So, by the way, Merkel is a complete globalist evil maniac. And people in Berlin, I've noticed, really have had enough. A lot of people are rising up throughout Germany. And Merkel is literally speaking in Orwellian doublespeak here. She's saying that freedom isn't being able to do whatever you want. Freedom is taking responsibility. Freedom isn't being able to do whatever you want. It literally is. Obviously, freedom is individual responsibility. Individual responsibility is very simple. Now, she's saying freedom is taking responsibility as part of a collective, essentially. Now, collective responsibility is the opposite of individual responsibility. Freedom equals individual responsibility. Slavery equals collective responsibility, like you have a responsibility to a collective, like a cult. That's a cult, my friends. So what we're seeing in France, what we're seeing in Germany, what we're seeing in Italy, people rioting in the streets of Italy against the lockdowns, is exactly what we have been warning about for months and months and months, as we called out all the fallacies, absolute vicious fallacies about this so-called pandemic, which 99.997% of people survive from. Also, that's not including asymptomatic cases, which could drive it up to 99.99997% of people surviving from it. It's so insane. And as the Canadian government leaked, or there's a leak out of the Canadian government not that long ago, I think about 2 weeks ago, that showed that they were planning for what they called COVID-21. COVID-21 would be a new mutated version of the virus, and that they would use this around the end or the beginning of November into around November 15th to enforce stricter lockdowns before they eventually uncover this new COVID-21 mutation, so that everyone who had COVID-19 can get it again, though they still never isolated, there's still no isolates of actual COVID-19. So, I mean, I'm still very much questioning that, though I do believe there is a bioweapon that was released out of Wuhan with help from the U.S. government and the Chinese government combined and multiple global governments in order to create this pandemic, in order to get people on their knees, but it didn't spread as much as they wanted it to. So they had to start falsifying numbers and throwing things in the air that were absolutely ridiculous. So there we have this current situation that we're in right now. This is absolute slavery. Keep in mind that Dr. Fauci, who was head of the Institute for Allergies and Infectious Diseases, got millions of dollars in grants from the U.S. government to study coronavirus in bats in China at the Wuhan Institute of Virology. And this coronavirus that he was studying for all these years was 96% similar to the novel coronavirus. And out of that study, the whole point of studying these bats from the Yan'an cave with this very similar strain was to figure out how to spread it to humans. So if that's not a bioweapon, I don't know what is. And of course, the Chinese Communist government-controlled World Health Organization absolutely refuses to investigate the Wuhan lab in their investigation into Wuhan. They went to the wet market and took some pictures. Absolute publicity stunt, absolutely ridiculous. And of course, they will continue pushing this further until everyone's dependent on the government, because what they're doing is 28 million people in the United States are facing homelessness. 28 million people once the moratoriums expire. That's 9 out of 100 people, and that was as of 2 months ago. So we can imagine it's going up from there. And what's going to happen? The banks are going to seize the houses. The government's going to take the houses from the banks, and then they're going to do a packaging program where they give away the houses for free as a relief package in order to save the day, even though they created the problem in the first place. This is absolute tyranny, and this is exactly what they're going to do. And I really have to caution everyone, if we don't do anything immediately and stand up and just disobey and live by example, we are so screwed, it's unbelievable. I mean, I do want to point out that at the same time as all this is happening in places like France, we have this, as it says out of Zero Hedge, France placed on maximum security alert after second decapitation terror attack in 2 weeks. Again, they are propping up the fear and the divisiveness at the same time as they're propping up the fear and nonsense, anti-science nonsense about this virus, and clashing people against each other, misdirecting people, and then putting people in chains at the same time. This is the biggest coordinated attack on free anything, free speech, free movement, just freedom of being able to live your life, of working your job without getting laid off and being dependent on government welfare. Biggest attack on freedom in the history of modern civilization, and it's just the beginning. People will say, oh, well, what about Nazi Germany? What about Stalinist Russia? What about Maoist China? This is just the beginning, my friends. It'll get further than that and get worse than that in a technocratic fashion soon enough if we don't do anything now. But as we've seen, people aren't doing anything about it, and then we're going to go down with the ship because of it. You can see pictures here out of the Daily Mail. It says, how long before it happens in Britain? Europe is boiling over with rage at more coronavirus lockdown rules, and politicians who flout them risk a collapse in respect for the rule of law, writes Leo McKinstry. Well, the rule of law is complete slavery of mankind, so I don't blame people for losing respect for that. Thank God they are, but they need to be in bigger numbers. You see some photos from Rome there of clashes, demonstrators in Milan protesting against the government reimposition of a tight lockdown. People are sick of being imprisoned in their freaking home. This is wrong on so many levels, and people ask, what would I have done in Nazi Germany? Well, now's your chance to find out. Now's your chance to find out what you would have done, because now is what you will do right now. What are you going to do? Are you going to sell out Anne Frank, sell out your neighbor? Or are you going to fight back and not allow this to take over in a global technocratic fashion where people are going to be tied to social credits, force vaccinated, and they will try to force vaccinate in a way where they'll say it's voluntary, but if you don't do it, you won't have a good social credit score, so you won't be able to eat at restaurants, get a job, have a bank account, travel, go to public places, do anything. It's the best way anyone could possibly develop such a slave racket is by the consent of dumbed down, brainwashed people. Anyway, we'll continue to report on this subject as it elapses, as it no doubt will. We will see a complete total lockdown of the world once again, and the unrolling of the crazy new goals of the technocrats, which of course will be the vaccines and will be the total control of the masses via information, via health, via money. And there are ways to get out of that, my friends, but that comes down to you living freely and living by example. Anyway, I appreciate everyone watching this. We have been covering these videos or covering these topics since January of this year, and in March we said what would happen. They would come in with lockdown, and then once people complained about the lockdown and rose up, they would come in with an opening kind of plan where everyone could go outside under social distancing rules, and what would eventually happen is that the people would be blamed, the people who went outside and tried to enjoy their life or feed their family or work their job, as everyone is essential after all, would be blamed for the second lockdown, which would be more strict, and then they would come in saying that it was affecting children, the COVID was affecting children, they'd come in with a new mutation. We predicted this a long time ago, and here we are today. It's all coming together. Unfortunately, it's all coming together, and we don't want this to happen, so we need to stand up and we need to be an individual, as in break free from the chains you revere, live by example, disobey. You know, protesting helps to a certain extent, but largely the number one thing you could do is disregard what the organized crime racket does and go out and do things you would usually do anyways. Anyways, I appreciate everyone watching. Hit the like button. Of course, we're just on BitChute, LBRY, and Flote because we were deleted from YouTube. So make sure to check those links below for ways you can support independent media. GoFundMe, Patreon, Subscribestar. We have a Bitcoin address coming up right away on the screen. Link below, as well as a CoinTree link, which gives you a bunch of different cryptocurrencies you can donate to. Many ways you can help keep independent media alive. And of course, go to Twitter, go to our World Alt Media Twitter page, and go retweet our pinned tweet at the top about being deleted from YouTube, as we need to keep pounding the truth home and telling Team YouTube that we want to be reinstated, not to be posting on YouTube anymore, but to be able to tell the 95% of people who weren't aware we were deleted that we were deleted and where to find us. Anyways, I really appreciate everyone watching. You could also join our newsletter at www.iambanned.com, and we'll be back at you with a lot more. Check this Bitcoin address coming up right away. And until next time, this is Josh Sigurdson signing out from World Alternative Media. Find the truth, be the change.
Thank you for watching our recent video. Behind me is the Jekyll Island Club, which is where the Federal Reserve was formed. And so in addition to making content and in addition to making, different YouTube videos and library videos, I'm also a financial advisor with a great track record. 2019 we had got almost all the gains of the S&P 500, and then when everything hit the fan in March of 2020, we had almost none of the losses. What I'd really recommend, if you have not seen it, is check out my speech where it was given February 11th down in Acapulco, Mexico, uploaded to YouTube February 19th, and at the end of that video, I did a little GoPro commercial, sort of like I'm doing now, that was ad-libbed, where I told people what the investment strategy was. I told people that what we had did is we were long the S&P 500 while also buying put options on the S&P 500, and what that meant was that was how we were able to get this, because I knew the market was going to either keep going up because of Federal Reserve money printing, or it was going to collapse because reality would actually set in. So, how many advisors actually protected your clients against that? I mean, I would say hardly any of them. So, unless you were in a position where you made almost all the gains last year and didn't really participate in that many of the losses this year, then you don't have a reason to call me. But if that's not the case, then I would go check out the website, thelibertyadvisor.com, where you can book a time to talk with myself and to get a free consultation to see if we can help put you on a better path. Again, that's thelibertyadvisor.com, and thank you very much, and hope to talk with you and your family soon. Take care.
I'm sure you have already changed people's minds in your young age because you're involved, and I like that. you.